things you need to know before you start your own business. Number one, identify your target market and their needs before you start that business and start campaigning in a proper manner for it. Number two, have a very solid business plan which defines your market, your potential, and more importantly, your projected financials. This will give you the layers you need in order to grow your business. Prepare for financial challenges. Starting a new business is going to be very expensive, believe it or not. There's some cases that you can reduce that cost, but always be prepared for the worst case scenario until your business starts generating proper revenues.
Okay, so the first thing you said to start a business is identify your target market. I would say there's a step before that, which is identify what your business is going to be, right? If you're going to be a window washer, then you want to identify people who own homes with enough windows that they'd want window washing and can afford and are going to care about a window washing service. But if I just identify people who own homes as my target market, but what's the service? So you have to start one step before he's saying, once you identify what your product or service is going to be, then yes, you want to know who the target market is. And then the second thing he said is have a business plan. I would say, yes, it doesn't hurt to have a business plan, but more importantly, or the biggest critical part of that business plan is what are you going to do that makes whatever you're doing different than, better than the competition from the people who are already paying for that kind of service or product that you're offering? What makes yours stand out? That's the key piece. And yes, if you want to write a business plan around how you're going to do that, great. But just having a business plan by itself doesn't do you any good if you haven't identified what your unique selling proposition is going to be. And then last, he points out that it's going to be very expensive to start a business and you have to be financially prepared. I would say again, if I'm starting a window washing business, I can identify my target customers as people with higher end homes with plenty of windows that might want to pay for that service. And then I can literally go door to door or put a listing on Craigslist or Nextdoor or OfferUp or whatever as a window washing service, wait till somebody calls or until I get a potentially interested customer, go out and give them a quote. They agree. Then I can run to Home Depot and get a bucket and a squeegee and soap and sponges and some extension poles and a ladder and come back on the day I've agreed to do the service. And that's the same day that they pay me, right? So it doesn't have to be very expensive to start a business. It entirely depends what kind of business you're going to start. You want to start a high-end restaurant? Yes, that's going to cost $500,000 to $1 million by the time you fit out the space with everything you need. But if you want to start a window washing business or a content writing business or a marketing business or a social media marketing business or a lead generation business or on and on, there's all kinds of businesses you can start with virtually no cash and pay for it as you make sales. So I don't agree that necessarily you have to plan to spend a lot of money to start a business. It just depends what kind of business you're going to start. So there's some okay advice in here, but I would take it from a different angle and focus a little bit more on what I'm going to sell and then identify the target market and then identify what my unique selling proposition is going to be. And then depending on the answers to that, tells me how much, if any, money I need to go ahead and actually get that thing started.
If I were starting over in my 20s and wanted to make $1 million in the next 1 to 2 years, here are the 3 things I would do immediately. Number 1, I would buy an existing business with owner financing and I would implement modern marketing and automation tactics. Start by going to BizBuySell or LoopNet.com. Number 2, I would leverage any credit or borrowing opportunities I had, and I would go all in on crypto research and trading. There's huge opportunity in crypto right now, especially if you're following new coin launches. Number 3, I would immerse myself in AI and become an expert in the field. From there, I would launch and test AI-generated art, digital products, or educational-based AI talking head content.
So 3 tips to become a millionaire in a year or 2 in your 20s. I'm not sure about that. First of all, I think the goal of just trying to be a millionaire is probably not the best way to motivate yourself, because if you're just driven by money, you're probably not going to have the ability to sustain through the times that are hard to get through to the times where things are good. Well, let's take the tips one at a time here. So first tip was buy an existing business. 100%. Buying an existing business can be a great way way to accelerate your wealth building if that's the goal. He says go to Biz Buy Sell. Yes, there are tons of businesses listed there, as well as lots of other places you can find businesses listed for sale. Then he says buy one with owner financing with little or no money down. Okay, that's where he lost. In having been involved in hundreds of transactions over the years, I know of exactly one where owner financing covered 90% of the cost. So owner financing is basically somebody wants to sell their business for $1 million, but they're willing to let you buy it for just $100,000, and the other $900,000 they'll let you pay them over time out of the money that the business makes. This is exceedingly rare. If you had a business worth $1 million, would you let somebody take it over for a small down payment or no down payment and just pay you later? Why would you put your faith in that? Why would you give up the $1 million today that another buyer would be happy to pay you to give it to somebody who said, hey, I'm young and I want to be a millionaire and I don't have any money, but let me take over this valuable asset that you spent all these years building and I'll just pay you later? It doesn't happen. It's very, very rare. Only in cases where you've maybe been an employee at a business, you've built up a personal relationship with the owner over years, he knows you, he trusts you, and he decides he doesn't have maybe a family member to give it to, and he doesn't need to cash out, and he's probably gonna stick around but not work full time. That's the kind of situation, very rare, where somebody would say, look, I'll let you buy this out for me over time by running the business. You run it, I'll be around in the background. Maybe I'll take some vacations. I'll check in, see how you're doing. But because I know you and trust you, I might be willing to enter in a relationship like that. But you're not going to find any good, valuable, cash flowing, positive business on Biz Buy Sell where a random owner is going to say to a random person, yeah, sure, you can buy this with little or no down. I'll trust you, pay me later. So looking for that is just a huge, huge waste of time. It's a stupid tip. Now, if you don't have money of your own, you may be able to pool together some money. Maybe you have a rich uncle or some friends that will support you for the down payment, and then you use an SBA loan to buy the rest of the business. That's a possibility. But if you're young and broke, buying an existing business for no cash down or little cash down is not anything I would waste my time on. His second tip was crypto. Yes, some people have made money on crypto. A lot of people have lost money on crypto. Just ask Matt Damon how that worked out for him, or Tom Brady, or any of those other guys who were all promoting crypto just a year or two ago during the Super Bowl, and that just fell flat. Crypto is an asset that is stored on a computer somewhere. It has no tangible value, right? Gold is just a lump of metal that people will pay you a lot of money for, but push came to shove and things went south. You can't eat gold. You can't really wear gold in any meaningful way. What do you do with it? It doesn't have a whole lot of value. Well, crypto is like that, except even less tangible, more worthless. It's just bits and bytes on a computer. So yes, you could spend a lot of time getting involved in crypto, but I think unless you're one of the insiders, and ask Sam Bankman-Friedman or whatever his name is, how being an insider in crypto works out for you, I would not spend time or effort on that effort. I don't think that's going to lead to a lot of wealth, in my opinion. His last tip, I was with him on, yes, learn AI. AI is obviously a hot topic. It's a field with huge growth. And if you become somebody who knows how AI works and how it can be implemented in business to solve problems and do things that other people don't understand yet or don't have the time to learn, you absolutely could make money there. Being an AI consultant, AI product developer, or what have you, getting involved, becoming an expert in that industry. Because it's so new, it won't take you that long to learn more than most people. And there is a huge amount of opportunity there, and it's a hot topic, and people are always willing to invest in the next hot thing. I think some of his ideas as far as what to do with AI are off base. Again, you want to create a solution that's better than existing solutions that may leverage AI. So learning AI is good. How you actually execute on starting a business with AI is a little less clear from this video. But I would say skip the trying to buy a business with no money down or little money down. That's not going to happen. Definitely skip the crypto. That is also a poor use of time, in my opinion. If you do have an interest in learning AI, then that may be a worthwhile place to spend some time and then think about how you can use AI in a business. He mentioned art and talking head content and things like that. I would skip past that. Look for businesses that have problems that can be solved by AI that would be happy to pay for that solution. And now you potentially have something good.
When you start a business and you start spending money, you need an LLC. Then you need an EIN, an employer identification number. Literally Google EIN IRS application. The first links that pop up are going to be scam ads. Do not click them because they're going to charge you, and an EIN is free. It literally takes 5 minutes to set up. The bank is going to require your LLC paperwork and an EIN to get a bank account. That's step 3, a bank account. So we have LLC, EIN, bank account. You're going to get an accounting software like QuickBooks or at least a spreadsheet. LLC, EIN, bank account, QuickBooks.
Okay, so yes, sort of. I would suggest, again, if you're getting started with something and you're not sure it's going to work or how dedicated you are to it or how it's going to play out, then you might want to not start with an LLC. Once you create an LLC, you register with the IRS for an EIN, guess what happens? They expect you to file a tax return for that. And even if you didn't do anything, they still expect you to file a tax return for that. And that costs money and takes time. And if you didn't do anything, you're still out the time and money it costs to file that tax return, even if it's only one and you're closing the business down. So you might want to get started without an LLC, just testing the waters, making sure what you're doing is actually going to work. You're going to pursue it. You want to invest the money in it. Then at that point, yes, you can set up an entity. But the second thing to think about is an LLC really the best option? A lot of times an S Corp is really the better tax advantage structure to set up, or an LLC with an S election. It just depends. It depends what state you live in, or if you're not in the US, but you're doing business in the US, or who's involved in the business, if you have partners, et cetera, et cetera. So just saying everybody should get an LLC as a blanket statement is not great advice. It's probably good for 80% of situations, but you may fall in that 20% where it's actually not a good idea for you. And then the last part of that, get QuickBooks. Yes, you can get QuickBooks, but don't fall under the impression that just by having QuickBooks that your accounting is either correct or usable. Really, accounting is a whole profession. People go to school for it for years to learn how to do it right. Intuit has sort of falsely implanted the idea with people that if you've got the software, then you're probably doing fine. If you're coding transactions, if you know you went to Staples, you put that in office supplies, somehow that makes the books all right. But there's actually a lot more to it than just doing those simple coding of bank transactions that QuickBooks makes it easy to do. The hard part, they don't handle it all, and that's where people get messed up. So start a business, yes. Think about whether or not you should be an LLC or something else when you're ready to really take it seriously, and get some advice to figure out if LLC is really the right structure for you. Then get an EIN, get a bank account, and then when you get your bookkeeping started, you really probably want to check in and make sure that bookkeeping is being done right. Because I guarantee you, if the books are wrong, then the tax return's going to be wrong, and that is not a good place to be.
Seven-figure business. Six-figure business is typically a business where you are the provider. So a mechanic, a hair salon, nail salon, lash studio, that's a six-figure business. Seven-figure business is something where you can work on your business, not in your business. So can you scale, can you replace yourself within your business so you can focus on continuing to grow and multiply that business? That's how you create a seven-figure business and potentially even an eight-figure business.
Yeah, I mean, this six-figure, seven-figure can be a little arbitrary, right? We have plenty of clients who are dentists. They own dental practices. They're doing well into seven figures, but they're still the provider. They're still working in the business and doing the ultimate treatment of patients, even though they have employees helping them. But I get his point. The point being that in most six-figure businesses, the owner is still essential to the business and required to be there day to day to operate. Now, again, there's exceptions. If you have a content business, you've created a course, you can create that and sell it even in your sleep. Even when you're on vacation, you can be gone for months, not work on the business at all for months other than taking orders from people buying the course, and you don't need to be invested in it at all. So in sort of generic advice that doesn't apply all the way across, but the general point I think is if you want to get to a larger, more successful business where you can be more of an absentee owner, it's really hard to do that with most smaller businesses. You want to be in a position where all of the things that the business does can be done by people who aren't the owner. If you get to that point, then you as the owner can work on continuing to grow it. But whether you're there a day or you're out for a week or out for a month, the business continues to operate and bring in revenue and generate profits even when you're not there. I think that's the point he's trying to get to for what makes a business successful.